Hi, welcome to the Thank You Notes podcast. My name is Travis McVeigh. I'm your host. The Thank You Notes podcast is all about showing gratitude to the people in my life. I bring on a guest, I write them a thank you note, and I read it to them. In exchange, they read one to someone or something that they feel deserves it. Today's guest is Nick Richardson. He and I have a 30-year friendship. We were high school debaters together in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He currently lives in Los Angeles. He is a former soap opera extra in a non-speaking part on Days of Our Lives. He played college football at Merrimack University. In this interview, we talk about our friendship. We talk about Cascia Hall. We talk about gratitude. He's not much of a thank you note writer, but I think I converted him. And I think you learn just as much about me as you do about him in today's talk. So without any further ado, one of my oldest friends, Nick Richardson. I think this is actually happening.
I mean, it's happening, but I don't know if it'll stay in history.
Yeah, so Nick, this is a podcast attempt number 2. You can hear me, I can hear you. Thank you for coming back on.
Yes, sir. My pleasure.
Just to let everybody know, he and I did this, how long ago was that? Wednesday? Like 4 or 5 days? Yeah, Tuesday, so like 5 days ago. My end sounded like garbage and his end sounded like candy. So instead of
it was great.
peddling an inferior product for my dozens of listeners, Nick was nice enough to jump back on and re-record this. Anyway, Nick, thank you so much for coming on. Last time you were here, you mentioned that you don't write thank you notes typically when people give you gifts. However, you do go out of your way to, wear the shirt they got you or the cologne, or, make sure that you show the person that you are using the gift and that you appreciate the gift. My question is, do you have any expectations from somebody that you give a gift to? Like, do you want to see them in the shirt, or do you want to see them using it, or tell me about that?
No, because I assume that everyone thinks like me, even though it's probably not accurate. So if I give something to someone, it's like out of sight, out of mind. Like I don't even pay attention to what I had or whatever. Like I don't want that gratitude back for whatever reason.
So you get everything you need out of giving the gift, and if they throw it away, it's okay.
Yeah. I think it's probably like built into like I went to like charismatic churches when I was younger, and it was like they always pressured you on that. Like there's like a Bible verse where it says like don't let your right hand know what your left hand's doing. So it's like whatever praise you get, that's all the praise you'll get. So it's like just do whatever is right, and then even if no one cares or even sees what you're doing. So
okay,
I kind of had that mentality, I guess, subconsciously and consciously.
I think that's a good way to go through it. You give things and it's theirs now. Like what they can do whatever they want with it, and you don't have any attachment to it. And
yeah, being like an introvert and stuff, I feel like anxious if I like felt like I was pushing them to like have to acknowledge or whatever. Like if they think like me, if they're like someone that like likes doing stuff like you, like is practices just doing the thank you notes type stuff, then that's cool. But I'm just like I feel like it's anxious because then they're like, oh great, now I got to respond to blah 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 whatever it is. Even if I'm helping someone out doing something, a physical task, whatever, it's like I don't want them to keep mentioning, oh thanks for helping me out. It's like yeah no problem.
It's funny you mentioned you call yourself an introvert, because when you and I were in high school, we were very extroverted. Is that something that's come on later in life? What do you think about that?
No, I've always felt introverted. It depends on the scenario though. Like if we're thrown into some, like say when we're hanging out, like if we're doing something outside of the norm, then yeah, I have no problem activating whatever the extroversion part is. But for most of the time, I'm just in my own head, just sitting there, just thinking about stuff, and I don't really need to converse or like be active with other people. Like it actually kind of drains me. But I mean, when you're younger, obviously, if you're up doing crazy things, then it's like you'll have some energy to do that. But I don't think in our group, like I was even the most talkative. Like I would just sit back, and then if I thought there was something clever, I would say it.
We should tell everybody that you and I met when we were in 6th grade at Cascia Hall Preparatory School in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Correct.
I don't remember what was the inciting event for you and I becoming such good friends, but what were your thoughts of me? Like, what were your initial thoughts about me?
I specifically remember, though, the kids that didn't go to Montecasino, like we were like the random, because there was a majority of people that went to Cascia went to Montecasino before. So I just remember like we were sort of not the outcast, but we're just like didn't roll deep like those kids. So I just remember not being outsiders, but kind of being outsiders. And for you, first, like honestly, vivid memory of you. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell this story, but like it was you were fighting some kid that like he claimed he was like a karate star or something in the bathroom. I didn't even know what was going on. I just saw a bunch of people like crowding around the bathroom. And I look in and I saw you in there and I saw that kid and I was like, I didn't know if you were getting jumped or what was going on, but then all of a sudden you just started wailing on this kid. This kid, like, he tried to do a roundhouse kick at you and like lost his shoe and you were beating him with the shoe. And I was just like, oh man, Travis don't mess around. Like, it was pretty funny because we're like, I always do it. You're a smart person and everything, and it's like, wow, like Travis doesn't mess around. So that was like my first vivid memory of you, to be honest. And that was like sixth grade. It was either sixth or seventh.
That was
grade.
Seventh grade.
Yeah,
that was it. It was the dumbest.
That was crazy, actually.
Okay, I don't know what my first memory of you was. I do remember that when we were freshman on the debate team, I did not know you very well, but that first tournament you and I got into some hijinks and for whatever reason it was just hilarious to me, and from then on you and I were pretty inseparable on the debate trips.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I would say like one thing about you is that my I won't say my attitude is weird, but like I'm not like a normal person. Like I find things that most people don't find funny, and it's like I don't really get offended by anything. So that's one thing I remember about you is like you don't really get offended. Like, yeah, it's not like it's hard to explain. Like some people just seem like stuck up or they're like really rigid, and you were like down to go. And so I was like, man, this kid's hilarious, and you don't get like scared of things that are most people will just be like, oh, this is weird. So yeah, I do remember that. I think that's why we clicked enough, is because it's like we find things funny that a lot of people don't.
I guess I'm also pretty introverted, like you said. I did feel excluded, and I felt like an outsider because I did not go to Montecasino. To explain to everybody, when we entered Cascia Hall in sixth grade, Nick and I came from other schools throughout town, but there was one kind of big feeder school where the bulk of our class came, and so the quote-unquote popular kids had all come from there. They all had their groups of friends, and we all kind of had to find each other and get to know each other, and it was a little bit more difficult. But specifically regarding to you, you have a very like obscure and off-the-wall sense of humor.
Yeah, that's a good description.
It's just, putting things together that don't need to be together. And just noticing the weird stuff that happens all around. We can get into this, the Oklahoma debate. You and I were just kind of casual observers of a lot of off-the-wall stuff. Can you talk to us about what you remember from debate back in high school?
I mean, you have a better memory than I am. It's just like our upbringing. Like we went to like a parochial school. Like everything was rigid. Everything was about performance and like behaving and blah, blah, blah. And so we basically got thrown into a different world where it was like a lot of public school kids, a lot of small towns in Oklahoma. And it was just a different atmosphere than what we were used to. And I just remember I'd never really met drama kids before, except like the drama at our school seemed like it was somewhat rigid. So it was like you would just meet a strange group of people, and it was super interesting. It was on the weekend, so you have a ton of time to just go around and explore and just talk to people. And it's just I can't remember any specifics except everyone played this game called Magic back in the day, which was foreign to me, and they were like super rude about it. I just remember them being super rude and like very arrogant about it. Like if you didn't know Magic, like you were nobody. And it was just like, I will stomp on your Magic cards sometimes. Like in my head, I just wanted to be like, I hate your Magic. Like I don't like any of this stuff. But it was just fun because these kids just did not care at all. And they just didn't fit like a social type that we were used to. So we had a lot of fun messing with them, and they would mess with us too. It wasn't like we were like bullying them or anything.
Well, the weird thing was that we thought they were weird for playing the game, and they thought we were weird for not playing the game. They did have a lot of like animosity towards us, like and like, well, tell me how this works. And it's like, just go away.
You don't get out of here. It's like, all right, geez, take it easy.
My wife, when I told her I was going to do this podcast and speak to people from Cascia or like high school and everything, she's like, you can't fill this thing with inside jokes.
Yeah, that is a hard thing. Like,
but I do want to explain one inside joke that you and I have, and I don't really even know how this happened, but can you talk about the phrase "I want your life"?
that's it's been such a long time. Like, I feel like I honestly don't remember. I remember someone saying that to somebody else, but I don't know who it was to or what was it about. Like, you might know more than I remember.
So you came up to me. I was sitting there, minding my own business, and you come running up to me. You say, dude, you got to hear this. I was like, what? And she said, this girl is like sitting on this bench with this guy, and I was just out there before my round, and she's just sitting there talking. She's like, oh, I love you so much. I think you're so cool. I want your life.
Yes, I do. I remember that, but I don't remember who it was. Like, did we know them? Did I say who it was?
No. There was these random kids from, somewhere, Sapulpa.
Yeah.
Ponca City. I don't know.
Yeah, we did that. That was our running joke for a long time.
We must have said that to each other 10 times, and we'd always see that kid walking down the hall. Hey, buddy, I want your life. And you didn't know what we were talking about.
Oh man, those are good times. High school is an interesting time.
You ended up having to slow down your debate because you became a football star. Isn't that right?
Yeah. That wrecked my debate career. Although I still can say that I was the first novice to win a tournament, so that's one thing I'm going to keep with me for my entire life.
Well, my debate career took off when you started focusing more on football.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Probably definitely more focused.
While we're mentioning debate, I think we should spend a few seconds on Miss Rogers. Miss Rogers was our debate coach, and she would pile this van full of 13 and 15-year-olds and drive us across the state every weekend. She'd fly us to Chicago, drive us to Dallas, stay in hotels with us, eat all of her meals with us, spending time away from her family to hang out with us. She was a huge positive influence on my life. Say something about Miss Raj. What did she mean to you?
She did put up with so much nonsense from us, but she was like one of the few people, especially like in education and like leadership roles in our lives, that didn't squash our creativity. Even though we were kind of crazy and reckless, we weren't doing drugs, we weren't really damaging anything. We were just off the wall goofballs, and we would take liberties with certain things that we wouldn't otherwise get to do. And it wasn't she would reprimand us and stuff, but she wouldn't squash our creativity, which is one thing I really appreciate. There was very few teachers that actually treated us we were going to be adults soon. So it was that was one way for her to get back to us and open up a completely different avenue of education too, which I still think debate, philosophy, all that stuff is probably the thing that changed me from being a little kid into thinking about life a lot differently. So I really appreciate her sacrificing a ton that these kids could have that opportunity. And I don't know if she knew how much we appreciated it. It was a blast for us. It was crazy. It was just a different world for us.
She must have been 60 years old. She had recently had head and neck cancer.
Yep.
Yeah, she's spending her weekends with us, and of course we're being idiots and running around the halls and waking her up at 3 a.m. But she would let us curse. She'd let us talk about all this stuff. She really was a second mother, just a mother away from home. I hopefully I can get her on here and heap praises at her feet. But I knew she had a big impact on you, so I'm glad you got to say something.
Yeah, I'm glad. I still feel she didn't like me that much, but she put up with me enough.
Do you think she remembers us?
Yeah, she has to. Come on, if anyone's gonna leave an impact on her, it's definitely us.
That's true.
And then maybe GT.
He's another guy I need to get on here, but
you're shooting high right there, baby. I don't know if he would remember us, to be honest.
He likes some of my Facebook posts, so I don't know. All right, let's get to our thank you notes. I'm gonna just read the thank you note I wrote to you for last time, and then I added a little bit extra on the end just so it's not exactly the same. So, dear Nick, it's hard to pinpoint something to thank you for specifically. You've been my friend since we were 11 years old. You came to see me in college and drank all of my Jim Beam, And you came to my wedding 6 years ago. It meant a lot to me. When I think of the funniest times in my life, you're usually involved. The special thing about it is that nobody else would understand or find them funny at all. I don't have an adequate way to explain it, but I'm just glad our paths cross and that we are still friends. I want your life. Love, T-Mac. Then the addendum. Nick, thanks again for re-recording this podcast. In the time I've had to reflect, I just keep thinking of things and laughing. I've never had a friend I needed to say so little to and be in hysterics. I hope I've given you a fraction of the friendship and laughs that you've given to me. Love, T-Mac.
Right on, man. Appreciate it.
Right on. Of course.
All right. Let me find mine. All right. I wrote mine to Mike and Jan Tupps. They're my friend's parents when I was growing up. Mike and Jan, I have never officially thanked you for your support and love shown to me during my developmental years. You guys took me into your home and treated me like I was one of your own sons. Every event at Cascia Hall always had an entrance ticket waiting for me. This truth and silent thing, but meaningful gesture of generosity sticks with me to this day and something that I try to emulate. Small gestures of kindness really do add up, and your inventory is sky high. All love and thanks, Nicholas.
Brought this up last, but Mike and Jan were also very generous to me. They are the friends of a mutual friend of mine and Nick's from high school, Ryan Tupps. And they flew me to Indiana twice just to hang out. They bought me countless dinners, gave me rides, picked me up. Like they were really good to me too. So I'm glad that you brought them up because they were good people.
Yeah. And it's like I always wanted to thank them, but I was like I don't know how to. Like they just literally did everything and like didn't mention it, didn't like make it weird. Like it was great. This is like kind of serendipitous.
Hey listeners, it's Travis again. This is the part where Nick's call dropped off, and there was about a 10-minute silence while I waited for him to get his phone back in working condition. I tried to edit around it, but it just sounded really awkward, so here's some nice waiting music, and back to the show. Last question. Why do you not like Ted Mosby so much?
Oh, yeah, man. I totally forgot about Ted Mosby. I don't know what it is specifically, but I read a whole blog that no one likes. Like, a lot of people don't like him. Like, I'm not surprised that you like him, but there's a lot of people that don't like that guy. He was just something about him. His face, his arrogancy. It's just, he always screw up stuff. Like, I just did not like him. Not at all.
I liked him at the beginning of the series, but he did get a little annoying and whiny to end it, and I think they just maybe prolonged that show a little too long to keep him likable. Even
though he was never likable, he was like that. There's certain people that have like that passivity, yet they think they're always the good person, but they're really just screwing up everyone's time. Like if they took him out of that whole group, like the group would have been fine. Yeah, like he caused all the problems in all the groups, I think. But he was such a nice guy. Like no one can see it, but I can see these things, man.
For the most part, he screwed a lot of stuff up. I didn't ever like hate him. Like I just kind of tolerated him.
It's like that thing. Once you see something, and then it just keeps bothering you and bothering you and bothering you. But it's good. It's funny. Like that was kind of our inside thing too.
Well, no, it really wasn't. Like this was like years after I had even watched the show. You just start sending me this stuff.
Well, I think it was weird because at first he reminded me of you, but then I started hating him. I'm like, nah, this ain't Travis. Like, I'm like, I should have sent it to you earlier, but I didn't even think about it. And then I'm like, let me see what Travis thought of this guy. Did he remind you of you?
Well, I didn't watch the show when it was on the air.
Oh, okay.
I watched it on Netflix. I binged through it in like a few weeks.
That makes sense. But it was like when I watched it, it was during a time where we were like almost like right around the same ages, doing the same type of thing. So I'm trying to relate, but I'm like, this is not real life, and this guy sucks.
No, I mean it was the same thing. Like Friends, everybody's like in their mid-20s and in this incredible apartment, and all their friends are like gorgeous and supermodels, and dates just fall into their lap, and it was never like Friends was never that like quote unquote relatable to me.
Actually, I don't know if we don't like because you liked Seinfeld. I didn't like Seinfeld.
Oh, I love
you
it.
liked you like the Beatles and Real Big Fish and all these things. Like, I would always listen to it, but I'm like, I just don't see. I don't get it. Some things in art I just do not like. I find them corny, but I also found writing thank you notes corny before I did one. So there's always a way to change your mind. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you and I really come from pretty different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Shocking. We were as friendly and as back as we were back then. It's, you know, we're still pretty good friends. So I don't know.
Well, you guys, like, you took me in, and also, like, your parents, like, treated me like their son. Took me to the river house. Like, I got to do a lot of stuff that I would not get to do otherwise. So that was great.
That's true.
And I mean, I don't know what your parents thought of me. I thought, like, sometimes they're like, oh man, this kid's a weirdo, but like, I guess it's not that bad. And then, like, sometimes I would get in it with your little brother, but I don't know. That was just my personality. But you're like, yeah, that's just Nick.
I think their opinion of you is that they couldn't really figure you out as if anybody could.
Yeah, that's like, welcome to the club, guys.
I had no idea either.
I don't know if I did either. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, introverts, we have like our own, like, there's a whole world going on in our head, and then it's like, if we keep it to ourselves, like, people be like, oh yeah, this guy's normal, and then it's like, otherwise we unleash our world on other people, and they're just like, I don't know what's going on, but let's go with it and see what happens. Yeah,
they certainly didn't know what to do with you at Cascia Hall.
Yeah, and I'm definitely like my background also is, people don't know, is like, I'm half white, half black. I'm like 6'2". I have a giant beard. My parents are both white, and I went to a white school, a really rich white school in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So it was a lot of like weirdness going on throughout my whole like upbringing, but I don't know, it turned out all right.
I think you did. I guess we should get any final thoughts in before this thing crashes and burns.
Yeah, you're right.
The final time.
No, I appreciate that you're doing this. It's definitely something I'm going to add to my ethos. And it's super simple. Like, I like one of your podcasts. I'm not sure which one it was, but you just said, to sit down, take 5 minutes, and you can write a thank you note. And it's like, in my personal life, I don't think. I mean, that's one thing I mentioned on the other podcast is I do have like a box full of like thank you notes, cards, and stuff. So as much as I thought it was corny, it's like I actually do keep that stuff. So it is kind of cool. Like, I think I'm gonna throw it in, and like I think people appreciate it. And even if they don't appreciate it, it's cool for me to get to do, and I get to reflect on certain things I would have just bypassed. So I appreciate that.
My first convert. I love it.
Good job. Well done.
All right, Nick, it's been real.
All right, man.
This will be the hardest one to edit.
I hope it works out. If not, let's do round 3, buddy.
I'm game.
All right.
Let's talk later. Bye. He's a loose cannon, that one. He never ceases to make me laugh. I really enjoy being that guy's friend. And I also enjoy making these podcasts. Thank you to those of you who see me in person and tell me that you enjoy listening to them. It just makes me want to make more. I've got a special one planned for the next one. So thank you again for listening. Write a thank you note, say thank you, and we'll see you next time.